Hey everybody, we thought this week we'd talk about this book that we've been reading. It is called The Art of Mastery, isn't it? Oh no, just Mastery, the Keys to Success and Long-Term Fulfillment.
Yeah, and by we, it means you're reading it and telling me all about it, and it's very interesting.
It's by George Leonard. It's a book that my Tai Chi teacher actually recommended.
I'm excited to get to talk about Tai Chi. Since we quit doing our podcast, we hardly ever talk about Tai Chi.
Yeah, I missed talking about Tai Chi. Although this isn't specifically Tai Chi. This is anything. It's been really great. It's about the nature of mastery and how in American society we kind of live the complete opposite.
Okay, explain.
I love this. Mr. Leonard has some great graphs about the nature of mastery. Here's the one of what the master's path looks like. If you can see what.
I flipped through the book and I saw the squiggles and I was intrigued, and then
that was as far as it went?
Yeah, that's how I read the book.
Basically what he's talking about here is that true mastery involves like a little bit of learning and then a plateau. So you're on your plateau, you learn a little bit, and then you plateau again, and then you learn a little bit, and you plateau again. And it's an upward progress, but it's not like entirely this upward curve. Which, when we talk about that a lot with growth mindset, but this is just a little different way of looking at it. He's talking about this is the path of endless climax, and that this is what American society kind of portrays life as.
Yeah, that's our ideal, is to just... I mean, that's what the stock market's supposed to do, right? And it's just...
Yeah.
It's too much.
Right. Well, and I thought it was really interesting. He talks about, the how things are portrayed is more important than like what people are necessarily trying to say. And this is written in 1991, so it's pre-social media. Mm-hmm. But as I was reading it, I was like, this is totally social media. He's talking about how commercials and just the media in general portrays all these climaxes. Like, the commercial starts...
What? Do you just want to read that part? Or is it
sure.
too long, do you think?
I could just read it.
It's really good.
Our hyped-up consumer society is engaged, in fact, in an all-out war on mastery. We see this most plainly in our value system. Values were once inculcated through the extended family, tribal or village elders, sports and games, the apprenticeship system or traditional schooling, religious training and practice, and spiritual and secular ceremony. With the weakening or withering away of most of these agencies, value giving in America has taken a strange new turn. Our society is now organized around an economic system that seemingly demands a continuing high level of consumer spending.
That's what I just said. Stock market.
Yeah. And he talks about how there's all these different things you can spend money on. Thus, all inducements to spend money, print advertisements, radio and television commercials, mailers, and the like, are primarily concerned with the inculcation of values. They have become, in fact, the chief value givers of this age.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, we're hypnotized by advertisements. That's the way they're designed.
Right.
We know they're selling us something, but until you read it like that, it's like, oh, they're actually teaching values, and it's really more than just buy the soda.
Yeah. Try paying close attention to television commercials. What values do they espouse? Some appeal to fear. Buy our traveler's checks because you're likely to be robbed on your next trip. Some to logic. Even to thrift. Our car compares favorably to its chief competitors in the following ways and is cheaper. Some to snobbery. At an elegant country house, fashionably dressed people are drinking a certain brand of sparkling water. Some to pure hedonism. On a miserable winter day in the city, a young couple chances upon a travel agency. Their eyes focus on a replica of a credit card in the window, and they are instantly transported to a dreamy tropical paradise. Keep watching, and an underlying pattern will emerge. About half the commercials, whatever the subject matter, are based on climactic moment. The cake has already been baked. The family and guests, their faces all aglow, are gathered around to watch an adorable 3-year-old blow out the candles. The race is run and won. Beautiful young people jump up and down in ecstasy as they reach for frosted cans of Diet Cola. Men are shown working at their jobs for all of a second and a half. Then it's Miller time. Life at its best, these commercials teach, is an endless series of climactic moments. And the sitcoms and soaps, the crime shows, and MTV all run on the same hyped-up schedule. In all of this, the specific content isn't nearly as destructive to mastery as is the rhythm. One epiphany follows another. One fantasy is crowded out by the next. Climax is piled upon climax. There's no plateau.
Do you find, like, I was just thinking of movies or books. I mean, we just finished listening to Harry Potter 7 with our kids, and there's a lot in that book where the three, Harry, Ron, and Hermione, are like not getting anything done. And I just, I haven't tried to write much, but when I have tried to write, I'm always racing to get to like the finish or the interesting part, but I cannot barely abide writing all the stuff that has to happen to get there. And it's like those commercials. I just want to show the part where the good guys win. As a writer, is that hard to let that stretch? It's not.
And that's why people can't stand my writing sometimes. Like, I am so passionate about the character development that
they have to go through certain
they have to go through certain things in order for them to develop in certain ways. And so sometimes my pacing can feel actually a little slower than a lot of people would like, because I don't write that, let's go from one climactic crazy thing to the next, to the next, to the next. I like to take our time and be like, and what did the characters learn from this? And, you know, maybe have a bunch of conversations about different things that they did learn, and conversations that help them uncover more things about the particular event that help them change their perspective. So
I think that's why some movies don't work, because it's just stuff happening.
Yeah.
And it's not, you don't really understand why, but you tell that it's supposed to be cool, like whatever's happened, like the one-liners or whatever.
Right.
But it just doesn't quite gel, and that's probably why. Because it's like, hey, cool moment, cool moment, cool moment, cool moment, without a lot of story happening. And so in our own lives, we want there to be good story happening, right?
Right.
So what was, I mean, when you're sharing this book with me, like, what is it that is striking you about real life and not just literature?
So one of the things that really struck me was that plateaus are necessary. He goes on to talk about how, he doesn't explain it quite this way, but plateaus are basically that period where your brain is integrating the information that you've learned. So you learn something new, you have an upswing in your skill level, that's your conscious skill level. So I'm thinking about this. And it's kind of like with a tree, how, you know, you see these leaves, or you see the flowers or the fruit or whatever. And then the plateau part is the putting down roots, the changing that skill into a learned conscious thinking kind of skill to an unconscious skill, to where you don't even have to think about it. It just comes naturally.
But it takes, like, I don't really get the tree thing, but like for a person learning a skill.
You don't get the tree thing?
No.
So, like with a tree, you know, during the season for leaves and fruit, you see visible progress. So
underground growth versus above ground growth.
Right. And then during the winter, it looks like the tree is dead and it's not really doing anything, but instead it's consolidating. It's creating roots. It's creating the systems that it needs in order to grow more.
Okay. Yeah, and so in my mind, I always think of learning an instrument or something, because that's familiar to me. And you watch somebody like Eric Clapton or a band like Wolfpack, and it just looks effortless, right?
Yeah.
But you don't see the 15 years before that of like bloody fingers and tears and not really wanting to keep practicing.
Yeah.
And then they get to this effortless place. And I mean, you could just stay there, or you could keep working and get to the next plateau up, but there definitely is this sort of settling, kind of gelling time.
Right.
And that's a pretty sweet place to be in.
Yeah. It was just so revolutionary for me, because I don't know if it was something that was like caught or taught as a kid, but I definitely have had the mentality of, he talks about in here as the obsessive. He talks about he goes through 3 different personality types, and one of them is the obsessive, which is the person who's like, this isn't working, try harder. And so here's the chart for the obsessive. They start out, they learn a bunch, and they're like, I'm starting to plateau, no. And so then they like try really hard, and they do whatever they need to do to move forward and kill themselves over it, and then they totally burn out and crash. So that has kind of been my life story there, of very much a like, let's try harder. This isn't working, well, push harder, And so being told that, oh, when you're plateauing, this is a natural part of learning. This does not mean that you made a mistake or that you need to try harder. It's just how life is.
Yeah.
It was really nice.
Is there a kind of person who just gets to a plateau and then they just get comfortable? Like, that would probably be more about me. Like, so you don't want to do that either. Like, plateau is good, but it's not now until you're 99, right?
Exactly. Yes. That is the hacker. And here's their graph. You make a couple bumps and then you just stay there.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm good enough. So I don't need to get any better.
So how do we apply this to the Christian life? Like, I guess like learning anything.
Well, so the one other type, I'll just say that real quick. This is the dabbler. The person who's like, oh, I love doing this. It's so fun. And now I hit a plateau. Oh, this isn't my thing. I'm doing the wrong thing. Yeah. Right. And so then they're like, well, okay, I just need to find the right thing and then it'll be easy. And so then they start something new and they're like, oh, this thing's so great. And they love that honeymoon stage feeling with something.
So you probably could think of Christians like that too. I mean, I know I've known people who are like, the dabbler could be the church hopper, or, they could be like, oh, I'm going to be Baptist now. Oh, wait, I need something more, more charismatic, or, oh, I better dial it back and but they're not really growing roots anywhere. Right. Or there's people who are just cruising their entire life and their relationship with God isn't really growing, and in their mind they're not really that bad of a person anyway, or there's legalism probably is the
obsessive, I'm gonna try harder. Yeah. I think it's just so, I don't know, I just felt so relaxed when I was thinking about this. I was like,
that's good.
What if I just, because one of the things that he talks about is one of the keys to mastery is to just do the stuff that you love, so that grow to love your practice. So you do it for the sake of the practice, not to get to a specific goal. When I think about writing, I can totally do it that way, as long as I'm not focused on these are my deadlines and here's what I have to get done, and then I kind of turn into the obsessive again. But if I just kind of be like, oh, I'm just writing my 1,000 words a day and I do it because I love it, because I feel like a better wife, a better mother, a better person in general if I'm writing. It's easier to have that mentality. And I think we can do the same thing with our walk with Jesus, where we're just like, I just have my quiet time because I just love spending time with Jesus.
Yeah, if it becomes too legalistic or intimidating, then...
Right.
Yeah, but if if we're meeting our highest fulfillment as human beings, which is to be in a relationship with God, then we're drawing energy from that, and I'm getting my identity and my fulfillment and all these things is going to draw me on to keep going.
Right.
So it's not a chore, and it's not boring, and it's not legalism, and it's not, the hop around guy? The dabbler. Yeah.
So what's the big thing you've gotten out of this book? Out of listening to me talk about this book?
Yeah, in all my study.
I've read various excerpts to you.
I think the part about the commercials being our morality vehicle, like the messages we get from society through media, and a lot of it is commercials. Even movies are commercials now, and TV shows. Like, everything's a commercial. And how that's not just, like I said before, I thought that was really interesting and profound and true, that, the moral lesson is you've got to drink Coke to get your thirst quenched and to be happy and to really be a complete person, or you've got to eat at this restaurant, right. And if you don't, you're really, your life isn't complete. So just realizing that everything's got this message, and as a Christian, I want to see and recognize that stuff so I can let it kind of bounce off of me and receive the messages I need to be receiving from the Word of God.
Right. Well, and I thought it was interesting. I skipped over this part, but he says, every time we spend money, we make a statement about what we value. There's no clearer or more direct indication. And that's why commercials are this road into, we're going to try to convince you to value this thing.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, whether it's
that's true.
beauty or fun, whatever thing it is that they're trying to sell, to say, value this, you know.
And when we respond with our money, we are saying this is important.
Yeah.
This is more important than anything else right now, because once you spend that dollar, you can never spend it again. So you're really giving it a high priority. And we've tried to consider that over the last couple of years. We've been more intentional with our money than we ever have been, and just thinking about just how much power. We think, we spend money to take care of our family and meet our needs, but it's really also validating whoever the product came from. And as a it's building up something in our culture,
right.
A cultural value of some kind. So it's something to watch out for.
I'm just boggled by the fact that you somehow got the Plateaus are okay message somewhere in your life.
Well, like I said, I'm the guy who would probably just camp out on one plateau and not go to the next one.
Right.
Unless, I've got to force myself. And that's why we're good for each other.
So I was just thinking, that's why we work well together, because you're like, slow down, and I'm like, come on.
And so we find our good pace, I think.
Hopefully.
Although I wish we were putting our class out already.
Yes, that would be nice.
Okay, so to wrap it up, this is a Tai Chi book, right? Or is it just a book that people in Tai Chi like? That your instructor likes?
Yeah, it's just a book that my instructor likes.
But how can we put it back into some... How does it tie to a physical practice? How
did it go into my... So actually, as I have been reading this book and thinking about this, I was like, I am connecting this back to Tai Chi, because these are principles that I've been practicing in Tai Chi somewhat against my will often.
Yeah. Well, Tai Chi, it's hard. It gets you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah. Well, and just a short... so I got into Tai Chi because with my autoimmune disease, my doctor told me I could either start taking Tai Chi or she could stop treating me. So when I started taking Tai Chi, I was like, I hate this. This is so difficult. I have never been a person...
Forces you to relax.
Yeah. It's all about relaxation, which at that point, I was having relaxation-induced panic attacks. That's where you're so stressed and so used to being stressed that anytime you try and relax, your body sees that as a threat. So then you have a panic attack. I would go to class and it would be this choreography that I couldn't figure out, and Tai Chi is all about learning things with your muscle memory and not about with your brain.
Yeah, it's not about putting your arm at some certain angle. It's about, like our teacher says, it's a formless form, and it's your form. It's what your body is doing, your balance. Like it's all, it's very interesting.
Very internal. Yeah. So
there's not like one right way to do it that you can like get an A+ on from the teacher.
Yeah. So I would go, and I like things to be nice and neat. So no A+. I don't like physical activity, especially when I feel like I have 2 left feet. So doing that, and I was having panic attacks after every class because I was relaxing. So I would not have continued with it if it hadn't been my doctor being like, here are your options. In the beginning, it was not yes, I love this class, I'm definitely going to do this. But as I did it consistently, I started learning and growing and being able to relax and knowing my right from my left without having to think about it, and just all these different things. And so as I've been reading this book and thinking about this, I was like, I'm already doing this. Like one of the things he talks about is having, I already said that, that idea of having a practice that you just practice for the sake of practice. Like that's what I do with Tai Chi. I go every week because I love it and because it is relaxing to me and I feel better after I do my practice. He talks about how the beginner poses, or the beginner, he teaches, how do you say that, Aikido?
I guess.
Anyway, so he teaches a martial art, and he talks about how the beginner poses become richer the further along you are, which is something that I found. We have new people and they're like, I'm bored with this. And I'm like, I'm not bored at all. I'm still trying to figure out, Yeah,
I haven't been going nearly as long as you, but like doing the same things. Like I feel like there is that plateau where it's like, I feel like I sort of get it, and I do maybe get a little bit bored, but then, I don't know, at some point there's just something that's like, oh wait, I think I really kind of nailed this somehow, and I don't even know what I did. But then you practice that, like whatever that feeling is, you're like, oh, do it this. Anyway, I think learning a lot of things is like that. But Tai Chi is just so vividly like that. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess probably lots of martial arts would be, but.
Right. So yeah,
so being
falling in
more
love
okay with the
practice.
plateau,
and
doing the practice because the practice is important.
Right.
You know, like in Tai Chi, you're not. I always goof on Liz when she goes to class, like she's gonna cut some bricks in half or something. But it's not, you know, so you never get to see like, oh, I chopped so many blocks of wood or anything, because it's not kung fu.
Right. This is true. It is not a hard art. Yeah.
But like in our faith, I guess, we're faith in what we cannot see. I mean, and largely you can't really see Tai Chi, but inside you know that all this great stuff is happening.
Well, and you can see it in a person. You know, we were...
Whether they have balance or not.
Yeah, or just how they're moving. We were doing an exercise last night, and I just was like, oh, it almost hurts sometimes to watch some of the new people who are like... And you're like, oh, you are so not relaxed. So, and there's ways you can test it. It's not like you just do it on faith and you don't see any difference.
Sure.
Like you can see a difference.
All right. Well, good book report, us. We should probably wrap it up.
Yep, sounds good.
Thanks for watching Epic Every Day.
And read this book if you have any interest in like learning to love plateaus, because it's really good.
Thanks for watching.
We'll talk to you guys later.
So long.
Bye.